If you looked at the photos from this day, you'd probably think it was perfect. Crystal clear waterfalls, beautiful scenery, blue skies, good company. The sort of day every travel brochure wants you to have. But what these photos don't show is the kitten I nearly adopted, the tropical storm, the punctured scooter, 2 hours pushing it through the Philippines heat, the dog that decided to escort me up a hill, or the moment I realised almost everything I owned had disappeared. And somehow, that still ends up being one of my favourite days in the Philippines.
With a restless soul, rock and roll spirit taking full control from the cliffside bars to the hidden caves where the kings and queens of the
Today was day 3. By this point, Kathy was still hanging around, which either meant she enjoyed my company or she hadn't realised she could escape yet. Smiley joined us as well, and we decided to head to Kawasan Falls. Now, before anyone corrects me, yes, this is Kawasan Falls in Bohol, not the famous one in Cebu. I'd actually tried visiting the one in Cebu in December 2023, but it was closed. So when I realised Bohol had its own Kawasan Falls, I thought, let's check it out, see what's up there. Took us about an hour to get there. We were somewhere around 30 or 40 miles away from the hotel, right out in rural Bohol. At the time, that didn't seem important. Later, it became very important. Smiley had her own scooter, and I'd got the one that I rented a couple of days before. Kathy was on the back of mine. Now I'd packed everything I thought we'd need for the day. My drone, FPV goggles, controller, wallet, room key, sunscreen, change of clothes, basically everything except the kitchen sink. The problem was, with Kathy on the back of the bike, there wasn't enough room for me to wear the backpack. If I had, she'd have had nothing to hold on to, so she wore it instead. Now Kathy is tiny. Honestly, it looked like the backpack was carrying her. From that point on, she became my little donkey. Thankfully, she thought that was funny. Now, not long after setting off, I spotted something moving beside the road. It was a tiny kitten. Now, maybe I'm just soft, but all I could think of was that someone was going to drive around that corner and never even see it. So we stopped. I ran back, picked it up, and there was this elderly lady nearby who pointed towards a house and told us where it belonged. Unfortunately, nobody was home, so I put it safely inside the garden. Except that kitten squeezed right back through the gate, ran across the road and started following me. So I picked it up, put it back, and it just escaped again. Tried it one more time, it escaped again. I was at a loss, didn't know what to do. So eventually the lady picked it up herself, said she would take it home. She probably saved me from trying to smuggle a cat back to England. Eventually we carried on, but the weather completely changed. 1 minute, beautiful sunshine. The next, absolute torrential downpour. We were soaked, not slightly wet, absolutely drenched. So we stopped for a drink while we waited for it to pass. That's when I noticed the puncture on the bike, because apparently the day had only just started. Someone pointed us towards a mechanic. Now, in Britain, you'd expect a garage. However, in rural Philippines, you look for a tyre hanging outside someone's house apparently. That's the sign. The bloke spent ages trying to fix it. Unfortunately, he didn't have the tool he needed. When I offered him some money, he refused. I insisted. He'd spent time trying to help us, and that deserved something. Thankfully, we weren't actually far from the waterfall. Unfortunately, we only had the one working scooter. Smiley felt uncomfortable carrying passengers, so I became the unofficial grab driver. Using Smiley's bike, I took Smiley first, dropped her off, came back, collected Kathy, and then finally, after everything, we actually made it. After everything we'd already dealt with,
finally getting there felt like a reward. The weather cleared, the waterfall was beautiful, and for a while it genuinely felt like the day's bad luck had finally run out.
Turns out getting there was the easy part. I still wasn't prepared to ride the scooter with a flat tyre. The last thing I wanted was to damage it anymore and end up with a huge repair bill, so I started pushing it. At first Kathy tried helping, but I kept telling her not to. She was already carrying my ridiculously heavy backpack, and every time I stopped, she stopped, I'd catch my breath, she'd arrive, and we'd both stop again. Eventually I told her, just keep walking, don't wait for me. It sounded sensible for about 5 minutes. Smiley eventually came back and helped. One of us pushed my scooter, the other rode hers. We swapped every so often. Meanwhile, Kathy carried on by foot, still carrying my backpack. Remember, pretty much everything I needed was in that backpack. By now we'd already been pushing the scooter for ages, and the sun was relentless. I'd gone from being soaked to being completely baked. By the end of it, I managed to get properly sunburned. Then, just to make things even more interesting, 2 local dogs decided they weren't particularly happy about me walking through their territory. They followed me, barking. Every time I turned round, they would scarper like cockroaches when the lights turned on. As soon as I started walking again, they were straight behind me, barking. Even the dogs seemed determined to make this journey harder. Eventually, we reached the garage, but there was no sign of Kathy. So Smiley went to find her on her scooter, and I waited with my rented bike. 5 minutes passed, then another few minutes. Now this is when the inner thoughts were starting to dominate. Kathy had given me absolutely no reason not to trust her. But standing there, 30 or 40 miles from the hotel, in a village I'd never been to before, I suddenly realised she had pretty much everything important I owned. Fortunately, Smiley came back with my backpack. Turns out Kathy had simply found a little cafe. She'd carried that heavy backpack for miles and she'd had enough. And she'd gone to find some shade. The only problem, she didn't have any money. So Smiley had come back to ask me for enough cash to buy them both a drink. I don't think I've ever been happier to pay for 2 soft drinks. Unfortunately, the garage couldn't fix the puncture, so we carried on. The next one had a brownout, no power. Third one, same thing. Thankfully, after a few minutes, electricity came back. The scooter could finally be repaired. While we waited, we explored the little local market. No tourists, just local people, food, cold drinks, shade, exactly what we needed. Looking back, the waterfall actually wasn't what I remembered most. It was everything that happened getting there. Eventually, we headed back. I generally thought the bad luck was finally over. Then I hit a pothole. My fate flew straight out of my pocket and straight underneath a truck. That one definitely wasn't surviving. Thankfully, I had packed a spare. Apparently I prepare better for vaping emergencies than I do for scooter punctures. Unfortunately, there was no spare pair of arms. Remember my sunburn? Every time the sun came out from behind a cloud and hit my arms or legs on the ride home, I'd let out another little swear word. By that point, I just wanted to get back to the hotel. And looking back, I think that was the day everything changed. When we'd set off that morning, we were just 3 people going to a waterfall. By the time we'd rescued kittens, survived tropical rain, pushed scooters for miles, been chased by dogs, toured a few garages, hidden from the sun, and laughed about it over food, it didn't really feel like that anymore. It felt like I'd made 2 genuine friends. And as it turned out, the next day was my birthday, and these 2 had something planned that I never saw coming.
Dito sa Panglao, pari ay di titigil. Dami ng tugtugan, walang makakapil.